the very notion of the office party at work is dead. I mean, it's all,
Yeah.
men understand that. Men do a cost benefit analysis, and it's just not worth it. It's not worth, the reputational harm that easily comes about, because this is really mean girl politics.
The thing about mean girls is that they'll always keep a big group of friends around them of other mean girls. So when you call them out on being a mean girl, they're like, how can I be a mean girl? I have so many friends. I'm such a girl's girl.
So I went out tonight for Halloween, and why are girlies so mean?
Now here we have a video in which there are 3 scholars, and they're going to give a presentation about biology and about their viewpoints on the difference between men and women. And there are going to be some activists there. Watch what they do.
James argues, accurately, that there are differences between men and women. This is a strange position to be in, to be arguing for something that is so universally and widely accepted within biology. Let's look at differences between men and women that are explicitly anatomical and physiological. Are men taller than women on average? Does anyone take offense at that fact? You could be irritated by it. You could be irritated by the fact that women have to be the ones to gestate and lactate. You could be irritated by a lot of truths. But taking offense is a response that is rejection of reality. So men and women are different on height. They're different on muscle mass. They're different on where fat is deposited on our bodies. Right? Our brains are also different. So there are some binaries.
Security!
He's a piece of shit. That is not okay. Even the women in there have been brainwashed.
It should not listen to fascism. It should not be tolerated in civil society. Nazis are not welcome in civil society.
Fuck the police! Fuck the people!
All I'm trying to say here is nobody's dead. Nobody's been shot. Nobody's been subjected to brutality. You just got a group of people who want to have a conversation, but they're not trying to have discourse. They want to disrupt the discourse. It's one thing to want to have a conversation, and it's another thing to just refuse to talk. I mean, what do you call it when somebody just refuses to have a conversation with you in order to try to clear up an impasse or a disagreement that you have? What do you call that? It's stonewalling.
This particular class was an intro to Africana Studies course. And when I teach that course, I cover, basically give students a sampling of Africana Studies, everything in it that I can get my hands on, just to give them a taste so they can decide if they want to major. When I get to gender, I always start with Black feminism, and then I go to womanism, because those are 2 different things, or at least it used to be. But anyway, and then the third thing, I didn't have a name for yet.
You heard Dr. Green Gorillia begin this video speaking about one of the preferred methods that feminists like to use, or at least some feminists, when they encounter an argument that they either A, don't feel comfortable arguing, or it makes them feel a certain way. It's better to just shut down the argument altogether as opposed to argue on facts. It's this kind of cancelization, if you will, a kind of mean girl strategy that instead of arguing the points on the table, you smear the names of the people that are making the argument. And this is something that is countered when you hear Dr. Hasan Johnson speak about what he encountered when he tried to vouch for Black men in his class about Black studies.
I had just started to delve into Black males. And I think at the time I was kind of referring to the treatment of Black males as, gendered racism, but I didn't know how to frame it. It was still very early. And so when I was teaching it, I decided this was going to be a class where I was going to try and introduce this area that I'm researching. So we did the feminist component, the Black feminist component. They loved it because that's how they were trained. It was majority Black females in the class. Might have been 25, 30 students. I'd say 20 of them out of 30 were Black women, right? So they loved that. When I got to the womanism part, I had a colleague of mine, give the lecture, and it was a woman. So, I knew if I gave it, it would have been a problem. Yep. So I said, okay, I let her do it. And because it varied from feminism, they didn't like it. But because it was a Black woman who was teaching it, they kind of begrudgingly accepted it. But I didn't have a framework. I hadn't come to Black masculinism. There was no Black male studies yet. So at the time, I just had slides, PowerPoint slides with stats and charts on them, right? Black male homelessness, black male suicide, black male life expectancy, black male cancer rates, black male HIV rates, black male police homicide rates. I would just show
facts.
them images. I mean, data. That's it. I didn't even say anything. I just would show them, and they would, they knew they were supposed to take notes. What I found is the women got more and more offended. By the next class, they had gone to the dean and complained that they felt physically threatened in my course. And they felt like I might do something to them, right? Because of this. And that was it. The complaints came about just from me showing data. So when I just introduced this to the students, the response was hostility. The women had a whole different posture. It was very much like, this is an offense that we're talking about black males. That was actually a quote from one of the students.
It was offensive just to talk about data about how black boys and men are affected in society.
The only way you were allowed or expected to talk about black males in courses like that was critically, in the sense that they were a problem for someone. They were a problem in society. They were a problem for black women. You were allowed to talk about it in those lines.
What I would like to do is give you examples of how cancellation contemporarily is taking place. I want to illustrate to you the methods that are being used, again, at present, to cancel people.
The local has endorsed this rally and has endorsed certainly and will join the U of T Coalition Against Sexism.
So if dad-deprived boys is the number one cause of the boy crisis, the number two cause is very much related. Boys go from the dad deprivation in home to a male teacher deprivation in school.
Women hold up half the sky. 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 Fuck Warren Farrell. Fuck Warren Farrell. Fuck Warren Farrell. Fuck Warren Farrell. Fuck Warren Farrell.
And like these so-called men's rights groups are actually hate groups.
No hate speech on campus. No hate speech on campus. No hate speech on campus.
We didn't used to know the importance of that. We now know that boys do better with male teachers on average.
We're not super interested in talking to you, first of all, but basically we're here to shut down an event that is promoting the patriarchy.
But we also have discovered this year, as a result of the UN doing a study worldwide, that the feminization of education is a contributing factor to boys' problems. When the United Nations did a study worldwide, they found that boys all over the world are 1/3 more likely to be graded higher on a reading test when the teacher does not know that the person who took the test is a boy.
You're doing it really loud.
Very frustrated. I was studying all today and I took time out of my studies to come here. 2 of my friends committed suicide and I want the peace of understanding why that happened.
Wow. When did this happen?
It happened about 2 years ago. It was one after the other like that.
Did you expect to get some addressing of suicide issue at the talk here?
Yes, I did.
This leads to cause 3, lack of purpose. When I was a boy, we basically had 2 senses of purpose. You were either a warrior or you were a sole breadwinner. But as divorces occurred, male-female relationships got shook up, and boys and the feminist movement came in, and they did a wonderful thing, which was they expanded girls' sense of purpose from the old raise children only to being able to raise children, raise money, or do some combination of both.
What I have to ask on that, and I'll ask you, is why this space to talk about that. Like feminism, for example, offers lots of spaces to talk about mental health issues, talk about depression, both in men, women, and people who don't identify within the binary.
I think everybody's voice should be heard. I wondered why the security was trying to keep me back, and I think it's for my own safety.
But no one stepped in and helped expand boys' sense of purpose in an equivalent way.
This is what men's rights look like. This is what men's rights look like. This is what men's rights look like.
Instead, boys were told earn money, earn money, earn money, or alternatively, be a loser.
I just wanted to see what this guy is and what he's talking about. But now I can't get it.
You should be fucking ashamed of yourself. You're fucking scum. You are fucking scum.
Just got my cappuccino. We with Jayla. And y'all, she want to know, like, actually, we want to know, men, where do you guys hang out? Where do you go?
Where are my good men? Where are the good men at?
Y'all, where are the men?
In the house.
I love us women, but like I'm tired of going to events.
Stay with the girls.
1,000,001 girls, and there's like 2 men in the corner. Like,
deal with it.
Men, y'all don't want to leave your house.
No. Stay away. Stay away. We are in the house. Gym, home, work, home again.
Look, I normally I don't have a problem with people protesting. I don't. But you have to ask the question, what are you protesting? Are you protesting poverty? Are you protesting the death of one of your kind? Are you protesting a police shooting, a police strangulation? No. They're protesting somebody that they're having a disagreement with intellectually. They don't buy his arguments. He said some things that may have been to them offensive. But damn, you're on a college campus. You're a student. You're supposed to hear things that offend you.
Generally in my videos, I don't have a lot of cursing, so I do apologize for that, but I felt that it would take away some of the effect, especially seeing how hostile crowds were to Warren Farrell, of all people. I mean, he is the most mild-mannered guy you could imagine. And if they're protesting like that in 2012 for him to not go on campus to speak about the ill effects of modern society on young men, then what's the point of college anyways? But that's not where I want to end this video. I want to end this video with the state of Me Too and why, well, mean girl culture has essentially forced guys to back up and play it safe.
What are your thoughts about Me Too and how it's connected to the feminization thing? And what do you think's been the end result that's happened to men in general and just society as a whole as a result of like the Me Too movement?
I think it kicked feminization into a whole new realm. It kickstarted it. I think it was already happening, but much slower and at a lower level. And I think the Me Too movement definitely kicked it into overdrive. I think the dating issues and the interactions in the workplace between men and women, I think a lot of that was an unintended consequence of Me Too, because I think Me Too was conceptualized really as a feminist political tool. It was basically a tool to acquire power. And one of the things you'll notice, especially with, upper level white women in some of these spaces, not only would those complaints, result in the removal of whatever given man was accused, but the replacement of that high level man with a woman. Right. So what we're looking at with Me Too is a coup. It was a political coup that was really designed, in my humble opinion, around, acquiring power for women in a very political fashion.
In all fairness to Jeff St. James, I want to let his video breathe some. There's so much I would like to speak about in this video, but in fairness to not just him and Dr. Hasan Johnson, but to people watching my video, I don't want to make a 30-minute video. I implore you to go and watch this video. And if Jeff St. James, you're watching this video, you need to clip your long form video into about 4 or 5 15-minute, 10-minute videos with Dr. Hasan Johnson, because it's excellent. But it's this story that prompted me to make this video.
My good brothers in the space, some of my longtime listeners, will definitely remember the Green Gorilla on YouTube. The brother is brilliant. You can look up Green Gorilla channel. He doesn't really do videos anymore, but his videos are still there. But one of the ways that I met him is he was a philosophy professor. And he had a girlfriend he broke up with who was upset with him for breaking up with her. So she called his department and claimed that he violated her. There was no police record. There was no evidence. He had not done so, but that was enough. And not only was he fired, not only did that end his job, it ended his career as a philosophy professor. Jeez. And that was why he came to YouTube. He literally needed to eat. I mean, that was, but the fact that could happen so arbitrarily with no evidence, nothing. He never called the police. There was no police. There was nothing involved. And they never asked for a police record. Nothing. Gone. Simply because she was mad at him. That's a lot of power.
This literally
When you hear these young ladies speaking about where are men at all of these different events, you can simply point to Dr. Green Gorilla's story. High value man gets a PhD, breaks up with his girlfriend, and the girlfriend can basically end his career because she's unhappy with him. And if he works at a university that's centered around women and women's thoughts and emotions, it's most likely some woman or a group of women in the circle of people that fielded that call and said, you know what, he's a monster just like we thought, he's got to go. And that essentially is Mean Girls rule. It is a culture where if a woman or young lady doesn't like you and she doesn't have to take you through the court of law, then essentially any woman that doesn't like you or falls out of favor with you can essentially end your career. And when you hear how brilliant Dr. Green Gorilla is, and to think that he was taken away from academia, however you say it, because of a dispute with one of his girlfriends, pretty much is not just Green Gorilla that loses. It's the academy itself. All of those students that would have had a chance to go home with Dr. Green Gorilla ringing in their ears from his pontifications and lectures, they're not going to get that. Most likely they're going to get a lecture from someone that's more feminist, that's giving them ideas that maybe they've already had and read about and not really being challenged. And then they come out on the other end of college, and instead of saying, I have this new set of ideas that I want to challenge myself in the world with, they've gotten a reinforcement of ideas that maybe they've gotten from the world around them. And what's happening for guys is simply, if that's the world that's outside, maybe it's better for me inside, away from the mean girls. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below. I'll catch you next video. Take care, guys.